Good afternoon. This video I want to deal with the issue of King James Bible and what it represents. The people we're dealing with here with PBI, Ruckman. This is from Lawrence Vance, by the way, and guys like Robert Breaker, Neo-Confederate. Go check his website. I'm going to link you to it. People can hide all you want from this guy, but Neo-Confederacy shows an attitude, a hatred for freedom. You can say, oh, the Confederates were fighting for freedom, or to keep 3 million other people enslaved. But the fact of the matter is that what these PBI guys would do is say, oh, the Bible justifies slavery, defends slavery. What they don't want to tell you about is that it never justified racial slavery. Slavery was a fact of life, basically existed. So the Bible God made provisions for it, how to handle slaves and things like that. But it was never racial. It was never racial. It was never based on the idea one race was inferior to another. That's what these people in the Confederacy started. And then they tried to use the King James Bible to defend that view. That's where you get with Robert Breaker. That's why there's so much interracial marriage. That's the real reason, people. So this is Vance here. Now you go to Robert Breaker, you can into the nobility of the Confederacy, how they were defending freedom, states' rights, and the Dred Scott decision. If people look it up, one of the most abominable decisions ever made. 10% of the Americans who fought in the Revolution were blacks. Dred Scott came out there, and this was collusion, by the way, by collusion between the White House, Buchanan, and Taney in the Supreme Court, in order to stop the idea that slavery was going to be limited. That's what Lincoln came to power. He said, look, it's in the Constitution. I can't stop it. I can limit it. And by limiting it, we can strangle it. Eventually, it stopped growth. Confederates said, oh, no, we got to have it keep growing because it's a nobility now. It's a noble good. It's what Breaker's for, people. It's what the PBI guys are. They get indoctrinated with this garbage from Ruckman. Vance is one of them. So, basically, the King James Bible, the Bill of Rights, or the Declaration of Independence, I should say, when all men are created equal. Thomas Jefferson, he got that from? He got that from John Locke. John Locke got that from the King James Bible. All men are created equal. Dred Scott went against that. Dred Scott said the Declaration of Independence was only created for white men, wasn't created for men. Declaration of Independence was not a universal document. It was only for white men. And black men could never be citizens of the United States. That's your Neo-Confederacy, people. That's Robert Breaker. He's boasting right up there. He's got that whole thing up. This is, and he has a big disclaimer. This is not against any race. That's that smiling, jovial face that you're letting on YouTube think he's a big, smiling, loving guy. That's the spirit of these guys. That's why I know him. So let me show you something. He said, Vance goes here. This is the Constitution. We present here for your information the Constitutions of the Confederate States of America and the United States of America in parallel columns. One would naturally think that the two documents are totally different and propose two different kinds of government. Oh, no. The whites like the Constitution. They just want to stick in things in there to protect their slavery. Their Negro slavery, as we're going to say. See, when you hear these guys talk about slavery, they never make the point the fact that the war, the Confederates will say, oh, no, they don't want whites being slaves. They're going to make sure the Negro is slavery. And then, of course, later we go back to Ham. See, that's the curse of Ham. That's what that natural thing was supposed to be under the curse of Ham. That's what this is why going to Ham and Japheth and Shem is all about. When that's way long over at nonsense. However, the fact is the Constitution of the Confederate States of America is almost word for word the same as the Constitution of the United States of America. Some of the major differences include 1 6-year term for the president, the line item veto, and all bills must contain that purpose in the title, thus eliminating the possibility of adding pork barrel projects, and a Bill of Rights contained within the document. We had a Bill of Rights in front, and they put it in there. By the way, gun control laws started in the South to keep the blacks from getting guns. You people, were for gun control, for having guns. The first gun control laws were in the South because the states were allowed to make their own laws there. So the Bill of Rights was considered a national thing. Was the federal government couldn't forbid you to have guns, but states could, and they were made basically to keep the blacks from getting guns to fight against the Ku Klux Klan. That's your Neo-Confederates. It would seem that the War of Southern Independence, that's when you guys see that, you know that's your sign. When somebody calls it the War for Southern Independence, that's a blatant lie. And that's what Baker calls it. It's a civil war. It's a civil war. Southern independence. They had no right for Southern independence. It was the federal government. They were in revolt. But they had no right to revolt. In the American Revolution, we set up the idea very quickly. The idea that there was a list, the Declaration of Independence. The Southerners never made a list of their complaints. Oh, is this tariff? That's part of the, hey, that's what the voting's about. In fact, they were over-represented because they had a 3/5 rule where their slaves were counted as a part of the population. So they had more people in the House of Representatives than they were entitled to, really. And each of the states had 2 senators, and they had very virtually controlled the Supreme Court at that time. But they saw the fact that slavery was, people were moving against it. Europe had finished it off. The English had ended it. They were going against the slave trade. So that's what this was really about. Now, when we fought against the North, basically the thing was, we weren't fighting against slavery, we were fighting to keep the Union. Eventually, the idea of ending slavery came in because we knew we couldn't keep the Union without ending slavery. So they make a big deal, say, the North wasn't really against slavery. No, they weren't. But the South was leaving because of slavery. The North was fighting to keep the South in the Union as part of the Constitution. And no, they didn't go there to end slavery. They thought it was part of the Constitution. And Lincoln said it very clearly. In fact, in the First Noble War, he said that. He said, look, I can't do anything against slavery. It's in the Constitution. That wasn't good enough for the Southerners. Eventually, Lincoln saw it and said, look, we can't, this war has to be fought against slavery because we can't exist with slavery still in the South. It has to be ended. But they'll twist and maneuver like they do with King James Bible. That's why I guess when these guys, when you watch, see that history, I'm going to get all the Neo-Confederates coming in. Oh no, it's this, that, and they try to twist and everything. There's that. Bobby Lee was against secession, by the way. He knew it was illegal. There's no constitutional right for secession. You go to Article 10. No right for secession. Even the Confederate, no nation can give the right of secession to the states. Even the Confederate Constitution doesn't have it in there. You think, okay, you have rights to no, they can't. People just let go when they don't want. You have chaos. It's not. It's basically just a loosely group of states just come together once in a while. It wouldn't be a nation. It would seem then that the War for Southern Independence, the Civil War, was not against the Constitution and the government it established, but against how the Constitution was being interpreted, or in many cases violated. Well, you didn't violate the Constitution. These guys put up guns in order to take Fort Sumter. And he says, no, you're not going to take it. We're going to reinforce it. Instead of food. It was a federal fort. But let me show you how something here. One thing, you won't hear the word slave. You won't find the word slave in the Constitution, the American Constitution. They have the word slave in the Constitution. The Founding Fathers knew slavery was a problem. The Southerners were holding on to it. It should have been dealt with immediately. It wasn't. But they all agreed and said, look, eventually this is going to have to end. It goes against the Declaration of Independence. And that was the problem. What happened eventually became from evil to that, and we had to accept and endure it, to a positive good. The Southern people, the Southern plantation owners, were pushing this as, no, this is good. This is a good thing. And you'll see that in these Neo-Confederates. All the blacks love slavery. The blacks like slavery so much, then why did you guys have to have Fugitive Slave Act to get people to bring them back? I said, oh, slavery was wonderful. No blacks, they weren't being abused. You had to pass a Fugitive Slave Act in order to get these people back. And you enforced it basically going up to the north and pulling these people back against their will. And even that's why these guys ended up in Canada. So where are your states' rights then? Where are your states' rights then? They didn't mind about violating the states' rights of the North, who against slavery had stopped allowing slavery. But all states had slavery, by the way. They eventually, just ended it gradually, whole thing. And that's not against racism also. All the states were racist. We granted that. Illinois passed laws not a lot of blacks in there, and that was really basically because of the economic issues. So we're not saying that either. So they'll come out and say, oh, you see, we use racist. No, we're saying people in the North are any better than the people in the South. We're talking about what the King James Bible represents, and these guys have used the King James Bible to defend a lie. So look at the Constitution here, and let's see, we'll see a notable difference in the American Constitution versus the Confederate Constitution. So here we have Article 4, page 18. In all such territory, the institution of Negro slavery. Now notice the word Negro. They didn't just say slavery. This is a very specific form of slavery. So when these people get up there and talk about how, it's like Brian Dengler has videos up on there, is the Bible racist? And when they talk about slavery, they didn't mean white slavery people. When they talk about how noble slavery is and wasn't, they weren't going to be put in as slaves. But the Negro was. The Negro was. And they still hold to this based on a curse of Ham. And Ruckman will teach you. It's like, well, okay, Ruckman, I guess you want slavery today then. Oh, no, well, why not? If it's positive good, it should be for today then. We're talking about how the Confederates, were right. Because slavery is a Bible, part of the Bible. Not racial slavery. Not the idea one race was inferior, deserved to be slave. As it now exists in the Confederate States, shall be recognized and protected by Congress and by the territorial government, and the inhabitants of several Confederate states and territories shall have the right to take to such territory any slaves lawfully held by them in any of the states or territories of the Confederate States. That was the issue. They wanted to bring the slaves where they want to go. That was what the issue of getting elected Lincoln, saying, no, you're not going to take your slaves. This is. See, they didn't care about it out of the states. They were going to go up north, they take the slaves with them. And they said, we don't care what you think about them. And they didn't like the idea they're getting pushed back on it. Oh, you think you're making us feel bad. You abolitionists are making us feel bad. We don't want to feel bad, so we're going to hang you. Yeah, they were hanging the abolitionists. Lynch them. That's what they do. But I want to put it real quick. This is the guy you deal with, people. This is Lawrence Vance. This is Frida Ruckman. This is Robert Breaker. This is Brian Dengler. This is the Neo-Confederacy, the lie about racial issues. And they go back to Ham and the curse of Ham. And, Ham wasn't put under a curse, people. Just say about Ham being burned under a curse. Then they make a whole thing about saying, well, Ham couldn't be put under a curse. His son was put under a curse. So, because he's just been blessed. So, why do you call it the curse of Ham then? Because Ham wasn't put on the curse. Canaan was put on the curse. And it was Canaan who was involved in it, not Ham. And he was the youngest son, which probably meant he was his grandson. His son could be his nephew. So, that's why he was the one involved somehow in that. And that line was always cursed. Wiped out Canaan. So, there's 3 other sons. Oh, that's not going to go for these people. Curse of Ham, curse of Ham. They deserve to be enslaved. So when you deal with this jolly old fellow up there, you think he's all gregarious and smiling. I'm going to link you to his Neo-Confederate page. That's what the Confederate Constitution stood for. Permanent slavery. Permanent slavery. Are you for that? You think the King James Bible defends that? He does. He does. Ruckman does. Vance does. These guys, King James Bible believers who are taking the King James Bible to make it stand for not freedom, not individual freedom, the basis of the Bill of Rights and the basis of the Declaration of Independence. Oh no, it stands for racism. It stands for slavery. That's what these guys want the King James Bible to stand for. That's your choice now. Does the King James Bible stand for Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, individual liberty, or does it stand for racism and freedom? Racism and slavery. The idea that one race has the right to enslave another race. what these guys believe. That's a Neo-Confederate lie. No, we're not, it wasn't about slavery. It wasn't about slavery. Oh, you wanted to keep the slaves. You wanted to expand on it. Yeah, those they're Yankees. Go to his video thing and you'll see. He thinks the Yankees were heathen, Unitarians. Every denomination split over slavery. The Methodists, the Baptists, Presbyterians. That's why you have Southern Baptists. They split over it. But he thinks it's all Unitarians. It's the spirituals, the right guy, the Christians were the Southerners. The heathen were the Yankees. No believers up there. Bible believers. Because on King James Bible. That's what he thinks. You think this guy, he is smiling at you and you think he's a fine fellow. And behind that facade is such an intensive hatred of truth. You can't even imagine it. Because when you put that, just like with Ruckman, just like Vance, just like all these guys who believe that lie, they have a hatred for what the King James Bible really represents. Freedom. Individual freedom. So people can make a decision for the gospel. Remember, the South Confederates, they stopped allowing blacks to learn how to read and write. They stopped evangelizing because they knew once people got evangelized, they became human. If you read and write, they became human. They couldn't have that. They had to make them subhuman so they could feel better about themselves. Oh, they're going to say it's all lies. It's all lies. I'm lying. Yeah, you read about it. That's why people are fleeing. They risk their lives fleeing, get away from it. That's what they justify. You see, it's a man. This war's over. Read his website. You guys won't do it. You just want to be deceived by this guy. You want to be deceived by Ruckman. You want to see it by Vance. You want to be deceived. Bible believe it. They use that code now. Bible believers. Bible believers. Bible believers. That's their code now. Dispensationalism. Works. Faith works. Faith works. What's the faith works? Well, Breakers. Oh no, it's got to be faith works. Then on his video, on his website, he's got millennium. Works only works. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. But works only works. You know why? Because he can't figure out that. Because he goes to Hebrews 11:1, and he thinks that's what the only definition of faith is supposed to being fully persuaded. And of course, doubting Thomas, he saw the resurrected Christ, and he believed because he saw. So people in the millennium are going to have a faith issue. That works. Can't be works. Can never be works. They're going to make a decision to say, yeah, this is. I believe this is true. Jesus Christ is God, and he's that's all real. And believe whatever they need to believe, and they're going to be tested on it when Satan is released after 1,000 years, and he comes back and gathers around the malcontents who rejected Christ. Don't like being under his rule. Perfect rule. Perfect monarchy. Ruckman calls it a military dictatorship. There's no military about it. There's no military. There's no military. It's a monarchy. And he's ruling. That's it. Bam, you're done. That's he got that's it. It's a military dictatorship. So that's it. I'll link you to the page. You can read them. This is the spirit of this guy. You don't believe me. That's the spirit of the Confederacy. That's the spirit of the Neo-Confederates. They think the Neo-Confederates are the Christians and the virtuous ones. And that's why they push this Bible believing. They use the term Bible believing. That's what they mean. Bible believing dispensation. Bible believing, viewing racism. Bible, slavery. Slavery is a virtue. It's taught in the Bible. Not racial slavery. Oh, the curse of Ham. You're supposed to be subjected. Ham wasn't under the curse. Oh, he wasn't under the curse because what? You mean the curse of Cain? Cain? Curse of Ham. Get that black under slavery. That's what Robert thinks. That's what Kim defends. He defends that in his book. He defends it, you people. You people just don't believe it. So the Bible, King James Bible, can either be held up as the model for freedom, individual liberty, justice. What's going to be held for racism and slavery? There's few guys in PBI, or there's Neo-Confederate guys. They want to be held up as this is what we stand for. We vote for slavery. Negro slavery, man. Make sure Negro slavery. Because the Bible teaches it. Take your pick, people. One or the other. One or the other. Amen. Thank you.